Hello folks, I'm Alex. This is Alex Unabridged, and these are my plans for this year's Read What You Own challenge. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, the Read What You Own challenge is almost upon us again. What is it? A few days away. November the 5th it starts. And yes, I'm going to have another crack at it. I ummed and ahed about doing it because last year it kind of taught me what I needed to know in terms of my own habits and breaking my own habits. It worked really well for me in terms of making me sort of see the value personally in kind of buying with purpose. So not going off and spending, 99p here, there and everywhere on Kindle deals and things like that, and going into the local charity books shop every time I went to my local town and buying something there, things like that. And it stopped me from kind of getting those habits back. Basically it sorted me out, so I don't need to worry too much about the amount of stuff that I've been bringing in since I finished the challenge, last year's challenge, or at least the last challenge in, I think it was May I finished this year. I didn't quite hit my target, but I got close, so it was fine. So yeah, I've not slipped back into those old ways of buying willy-nilly, but I still have a lot of unread books in my collections, both physical ebooks and audiobooks, some of which I've had for years, but a lot of which are things that I've bought relatively recently, so things that I've bought really since I've started doing BookTube. And I do need to get through those, and I do need to make a concerted effort to get through those. So that's why I'm going to do the challenge this year. It's going to be my own rules again, my own caveats, things like that. But I want to take part, because one of the things I love about it, whilst it is your challenge, your own challenge, you decide what your target is and how you're going to do it. There's such a lovely community feel to it, which is obviously it's one of the things I love most about BookTube is the community stuff. And I want to be a part of that, and it's lovely kind of having that support from other people doing the challenge to kind of keep you on the straight and narrow, and more kind of in it together, if you like. So I'm going to be a part of that again this year. I want to be a part of that again this year. So yes, the backlog. I ran some stats, ran some numbers. These are the stats that I've got at the moment. Out of my physical collection, which is around about 300-ish physical books, I've got 80 of those unread. So that's not too bad in terms of a percentage. It's just over 25%. But it's 80 books. That's still quite a lot of physical books. Some of those are earmarked already for projects, but not that many. So I do need to, make a bit of a dent in that 80. Ebooks wise, I've got a collection of about 115 ebooks. 35 of those are books that I've actually purchased. I've spent money on with the intent of reading. I'm not counting within that a handful of freebies that I picked up, because they were free essentially. And I thought, I might want to read that someday. These are just the things that I've actually purchased with the intent of reading. So that's 35 out of 115, which is about 30%. And then the audiobooks, I've got 116 audiobooks in my collection, 46 of which are not listened to yet. So that's 40%. So that's something that I will be looking at as part of my Read What You Own challenge this year. I am including getting through some of those audiobooks that I've neglected so far. So how am I going to do my challenge this year then? So I'm going to aim for the lowest tier of 25 books, the bronze tier. I tried 50 last year and I didn't quite make it. It took me a bit too long, and it became a bit of a slog, and I ended up failing it. Not really failing it, but I ended up stopping before I got to the 50. I think I got to 42. So I'm going to go for the lowest tier this year, but really that's kind of a tentative amount, because really what I'm looking at is not buying any new books between now, or the start of the challenge, and April the 16th, 2025. And that's because April 16th is my birthday. And that's probably a point at which I'm going to want to have a little bit of a splurge on books for my birthday. So I'm going more for the time period than I am the number of books. There are page counts as well for, or page count equivalents if you like, for the tiers this year. And it's 6,250 pages for the bronze tier. So I'll also be looking at kind of page counts or audio equivalent of page counts. So that's kind of, I'm looking more at the time scale as opposed to the number of books this year, but I'm going to aim for that 25. There are, of course, a few exceptions that I'm going to allow. First one is if I can't get something for one of my reading projects out of my library, then I am allowed to buy a copy of that, and I will try and get a second-hand copy. But most stuff I should be able to get out of the library if I don't already own it. But yeah, if it's on the reading project schedule, I'm not going to bump it because I don't own it. I'm going to buy it. Another exception is I can still get books as gifts for Christmas. Random gifts particularly are absolutely allowed. If somebody just thinks of a book that I might like that they've read and gifts it to me randomly, that's perfect. And I love those gifts anyway, that I've found some absolute gems that I wouldn't have ordinarily read through just getting lovely thoughtful gifts of books. I can ask for books for Christmas, but I'm restricting myself to only asking for books. Say like when my mum says, what's on your Christmas list this year? She always likes to have some books that she can find. I'm only allowed to ask for things that I've already read but I don't own and that I want in my collection. So one of the things that springs to mind is a couple of Becky Chambers books. I got them out of the library when I read them, and I absolutely love them, and I really want to have those in my collection because they're the sort of things that I want to reread. I'll want to go back to time and time again, and I don't own them, so it'd be lovely to ask for like the nice hardback edition, things like that. Or if there's some other favourites like nice hardback editions, things like that, I can ask for stuff that I want for the collection, but it has to be stuff that I've already read. Or I can ask for reference books, and within that I include like art and design books, things like that. Speaking of Christmas, I am going to make one more exception for Christmas, and that's that I'm allowed graphic novels, manga, game books, solo RPG books, things like that. But last year, one of the exceptions that I made was that I was allowed to ask for Waterstones vouchers from my in-laws. They always ask what I'd like. Vouchers are always, kind of easiest for them to source. And so I said Waterstones vouchers, thinking, oh yeah, it'd be nice to go and have like just a little spend at Christmas with some Waterstones vouchers. And because they're super generous, lovely people, I ended up with a lot more vouchers than I expected. And I ended up going on this massive spree and coming home with an absolute ton of new books. And it kind of ended up feeling a little bit like it kind of defeated the purpose of the challenge a little bit. It felt like a bit of a cheat. Do you know what I mean? Because I brought in so many new books when I wasn't meant to be buying any, and it wasn't my money, it was gifted, so it was like having a book gifted was kind of my rationale with it. But actually no, I think it didn't help. So I'm not going to do that this year. I know that my in-laws will probably ask what I might like, so if I want to ask for any kind of vouchers, it will be for Travelling Man, which is my local comic book and gaming store. So that gives me the opportunity for buying non-book things at all, like Warhammer miniatures, or if I want to buy any kind of printed material, should we say, it will be comics and graphic novels. And the reason why I'm allowing this is because I have a very small collection of comics and graphic novels, downstairs. And I really want to add to that. I don't buy many comics and graphic novels these days at all, mainly because of the expense. Because I like to buy things in volumes, they're expensive, so I tend not to buy them. And also within my collection, there is hardly anything that is unread. That's part of my collection, which is pretty much, it's like 90, probably 95% read. So I don't feel so bad adding to that. Plus, it's a much different sort of reading for me. So I'm going to allow that exception just at Christmas. The rest of the time, I'm not allowed to go buying comics, graphic novels, etc. willy-nilly. So those are my exceptions, generally. I'm going to be knocking my Kindle Unlimited subscription on the head. I've had that for a while, for quite a while. But I'm going to get rid of that for the foreseeable future, because there's too much of a temptation when I have that to dive into the Kindle Unlimited catalogue and read something out of there instead of reading one of the many things that I have on the shelves or in my ebook collection or anything like that. So yeah, that's going for a bit to remove the temptation. I am going to keep Audible though. I am going to prioritise audiobooks to a certain extent for the Read What You Own challenge, because that's where I've got the highest percentage of unlistened to, unread things. But audiobooks have just become really important to me recently. They've helped me get out of my recent slump. I find myself able to focus on them a lot easier than text-based stuff, largely because I think, I'm doing a lot more day-to-day work on text-based things. I'm proofreading and editing, and by the end of the day my eyes are kind of done with text a bit, so I don't have the same kind of focus in the evenings for text, whereas I can with audiobooks, absolutely. So I'm going to keep Audible on the go. I found that like a lot of the science fiction books in my science fiction reading project are on the Audible Plus catalogue, so I've not had to pay for those, so that's really useful. And I've looked through the catalogue for, kind of other reading projects I've got planned for next year, and a lot of stuff is on there from those as well. Plus, Audible is great for if there is an event I want to do, because if I just need something, even if it's something very short, for an event, then I can dive into that catalogue. And yes, it won't account towards the Read What You Own when I read that thing, but at least it gives me that kind of, that wiggle room, that extra catalogue, if you like, for events only. So audiobooks will make a concerted effort to get through what I've not listened to in my collection yet, but I don't want to get rid of the Audible subscription. I use it too much. It's important, that one for me. So there we go. That is my plan for the Read What You Own challenge this year. Quite chilled. Just see if I can hit that 25 book, target, but mainly just see how much of my backlog I can clear between now and the 16th of April. And yeah, no book buying apart from a little bit of comic and graphic novel buying at Christmas, should I get the opportunity. It's all very dependent on, whether I get vouchers for Christmas or not. So that will do from me today then. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, do let me know in the comments if you are taking part in the Read What You Own challenge this year. Are you going all out for that 100 book target? Or are you being a bit more chill like me this year and going for a slightly more relaxed number, or trying to hit a time period, that kind of thing? Do let me know in the comments below how you're going to tackle your Read What You Own challenge this year. I will be back on Sunday with something else for your viewing pleasure, so I do hope you will join me for that then. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.